Quick history lesson. In 1933, just 15 years after Germany suffered a devastating loss from World War I, a new extremist political faction was emerging, the Nazis. Then President Hindenburg decided that to manage that growing faction, he would nominate its political leader, Adolf Hitler, as his chancellor, but a year and a half later, Hindenburg died, making Hitler the president. Hitler then consolidated power and with popular support emerged as a fascist dictator. By 1938, all of Europe again feared that Germany would plunge them into war, and so they sent a delegation to contain Hitler through the Munich Agreement. However, in 1939, just a year later, Hitler invaded Poland, plunging them all back into a world war. So how does a right-wing extremist political faction leverage fear, frustration, and patriotism to convince an entire population to surrender its democratic form of government to a fascist strongman to make a country great again? It helps to have good propagandists.
So another key point that my man didn't touch on in this TikTok video, I'm sure he knows it, but he didn't touch on this particular video, is that a lot of the Nazi Party's success actually had to do with their focus on people's everyday struggles and everyday issues. They ended up really pressing on to the Jews are the problems for everything, slowly over time, and that really became a big pillar, but they did meet people's everyday economic needs during times of such struggle after World War I, as the burden was put all on Germany as being the starters of the war, and the entire world took a dump on them, basically. That, their everyday struggles and how they tapped into it is, and actually improving on economic issues, is also how they gained a lot of their support. And we're seeing that from the Republican Party now. They typically touch on things like taxes, but while the Democrats, as I pointed out in my other video today, as Democrats really focus all on Trump, all on January 6th and the insurrection, all on matters related to that, COVID-19, it's given the Republicans opportunity to talk about education, to talk about the economy, and to actually maybe throw people bones here and there as blue-collar workers are starting to wane a little bit away from the Democratic Party. Now, it's clear and obvious that the Republican Party, a lot of how they maintain their base is through race baiting and through, stirring up the culture war, but that's not their full base of voters. Rural voters, college-educated whites, people who are filling in those gaps, who aren't super crazy about Trump. They still have the ability to really appeal to that crowd. And so the danger is that that real racist mix in the Republican Party and the GOP isn't going anywhere, and they can't escape it because too much of their base is reliant on that for their support. So they can't escape that, which means that they're going to continue to grow on it. But as the Democratic Party continues to blow their opportunities to truly deliver for the American people, there's no third option that's viable that can make people excited and really fill people with hope and belief that they're going to deliver on their word. How can the Democrats go into the 2022 midterms or the 2024 presidential elections and talk about how they're going to touch on the minimum wage when they didn't in Biden's presidency, how they're going to improve police reform, how they're going to do more for abortion rights, how they're going to do this and that, when they hardly did any of it under Joe Biden's administration? The infrastructure bill got talked down from $6 trillion. Initially, progressives wanted $10 trillion. Biden ran on $6 trillion. That got talked down to $3.5 trillion. And because of two people, Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, that got talked down to below $2 trillion, which is totally insufficient. Yet, that's the best that the Democrats have to offer. And so, you see how the Republican Party can really, really continue to creep up on the populace when the supposed party of defense isn't doing anything about anything.